Good morning. Just wanted to give you some inspiration before I can get a chance to go down to the gym with you. Um, grab on a chest day. We're just going to work on a little bit of chest today. We're going to show you a couple of the quick warm-ups. I grab myself like a 5-pound little small weight and put my hands like this and do this movement. You don't want to sling it or go crazy. What you do is you're stretching it as you get about right here. It's pulling on this, which helps to free everything up. Just do a couple of warm-up movements to kind of get your shoulders ready, especially if you do like me and you work out early in the morning. Nothing's really mobile. And I find it helpful before doing any kind of bench press or any of the other cables to do a few push-ups. Depending on your stance, it's nice to get that same movement. You can put your arms in closer. And when you go farther, it really engages more of your chest. After you feel like you're totally warmed up and you're ready to actually get into it, one of the ones I like a lot is the cable machines. The different gyms have them where you can set the height at different elevations. Mine at the house, I only have a connection at the bottom and the top. So if I want to change the height, like an easy way to just do it is to set them a little above shoulder height. That does help where it's like really it's above head height. Don't pick a very heavy weight if you've never done this before. Go extremely light and get the movement down. Remember, even though I was telling you do have to do heavy weight, it's true. But for the first week or two, if you're not real familiar with the movement, it's better to be more focused on doing the movement right, and then muscle memory, you'll remember how to do it and then get heavier. If you try doing it too heavy too soon, your body will cheat and use the wrong muscles. Like for instance, something like this, if you cheat, you can pull in and like cheat and like push and use crazy different parts of your body. What you're wanting to do is go with a lighter weight, focus on staying stationary for everything. You may have to lean forward to stay stationary, and all you're trying to engage is this muscle from here across on the top of your pecs. So you just slide your arms together. Some people bring them to where they're close like this. Sometimes they'll show you doing them where you cross over and then you alternate back the next time. Whichever way you feel more comfortable. Don't go fast. When you go fast, you'll use momentum and it cheats. But you want time under tension for each muscle group. If you've never done them, like I said, don't go with a heavy weight because the first 2 or 3 you'll feel like, oh, it's nothing. And then once you get to about rep number 7 or 8, you'll probably start to really feel it, even if it was a really light weight. No matter what, you start lighter and work your way up. But again, if you haven't done them, just pick a weight that you think that you can do for 5 or 10 reps. With a workout like that, I never go crazy heavy. On that particular workout, the rep range that you want to stick with once you get that movement down is 10 to 15 reps. So don't go crazy on your weight. Just get 10 to 15 reps. Next, I'm going to do bench press. Of course, a classic that everybody's familiar with. At the gyms, you won't have to be setting up your bench and changing the height or anything. But at the gym, you also won't have these spotter bars over here. Like for me, I have this in place so that if I screw up and I drop the weight, I have these in place to catch them. If you're going to go crazy in any amount of weight, you need to have a spotter standing behind you just in case you screw up. In order to really get something out of bench press, a lot of times, you really need that extra person. For me, like I said, I have these bars to catch. There's no shame in warming up for absolutely everything to do with bench press. You don't need a spotter if you know you're going crazy light. The bar is usually 45 pounds. Work on your movement. They tell you to bring your knees to where there's like a 90-degree angle and your heels are on the floor. Bring it down. You don't want to bounce off your chest. You hear what I'm talking and I bounce it. A lot of people will do that bounce to get a little bit of a boost up right here. But what you want is to get a decent grip when it's up here. A very good way if you put it where your grip is a little more than shoulder width and you attempt to bend the bar. Like in your mind, you grip it and you twist your hands in as if you're trying to bow this bar as a U shape. That will give you a good grip that makes it to where your elbows, like, I'll show you. If you do a whole lot of reps, you can get tennis elbow and stuff right here on the outside edge. And that's just from fatigue, from rubbing. And different people have different grips. I'm just showing you what works for me. That will irritate that nerve. And after a little while, it'll be a problem. You don't want to push past something like that. So make sure you're comfortable. Like for me, I get those good grip down about it's a little more than shoulder width. Grip the bar normal. But as you get here, I literally try to imagine I'm bending that bar down. So you see my elbows moving out because I'm bending it in my brain into a U. Then when I do that, there's no crazy sounds out of my elbows. And then I'll do 10 or 15 to get the movement right and then start increasing weight. Put 25s on each side. All right, I added some weight to it. Now we're at 45s on each side, so it's 135. A good thing to do is make sure that you got the same distance. They'll give you these bars with a divider part to make sure your grip is even. Again, don't go crazy if you're in the gym. I have this cheater. See, I can't crush myself. Make sure you have a spotter if you're going to go very heavy. All the guys that are in the gym at the time have absolutely no problem helping somebody with a spot. It makes them feel good that they're helping somebody, so don't be ashamed to ask. It's way more embarrassing to have something stuck on your chest and have to ask afterwards. On a bench press day like this, where I'm going to be doing a lot of different stuff, I'll focus on bench press and rest for, not going to exhaustion. I just keep increasing my weight until I get to something. Let's say my true 1 rep max is about 2, it's like 275, 280, something like that. I never get to that. I'll do like 2 45-pound plates. Then I'll add some 25-pound plates, do that, rest for a little bit, come back to it after about 3 or 4 minutes, come back and do anywhere from 4 to 8 reps, and then rest again. And then depending on if you want to do high volume or high weight, if you're trying to get to a higher weight, honestly, for the first week or two, if you haven't been doing it a lot, don't ever even try to get to the high weight. Like, you'll probably injure your shoulders or chest or something. But once you get familiar with the movement, you do, even as you're working your way up, you don't want to get exhausted. So you go maybe 2 to 3 reps and wait, and then increase. And then 2 to 3 reps, and then you'll increase. And then when you get close to your weight, like I said, my 1 rep max might be 280. So I would go with about 225, and then really start just using that. So it's just 2 45-pound plates on both sides, and that puts a lot of tension on everything. It's very heavy. So I can do 5 or 6 reps of that and then really burn out, and then have somebody just be spotting you once you get to that point. Like I said, you don't ever have to go to that, oh, this is my 1 rep max. Honestly, you'll start doing crazy stuff. Now, when you're doing it, they will say, some people say that it's no big deal. I'm going to show you some of the other stuff. Number 1, your wrist might be painful. Again, that's depending on your grip and your width. If your hands are in closer, a lot of people, including myself, will do what they call the suicide grip, which you never wrap your thumbs around the back side. Your thumbs go on this side. Surprisingly, it does not slip out. All the pressure is straight down, and it doesn't hurt your wrist when you do that. It's more of like your push-up position then, and I can actually do more weight like that. Some people do a lot more weight with their arms wider. That's just up to you. When you're doing it this way, some people will take when you start getting a lot of weight, you'll start doing this. You'll see this, watch. It'll be like, and your back will come off. They say that's not actually a problem, because at least then it doesn't hurt your spine in any way, and you're keeping your shoulders down. It does look goofy. So you'll see me if I'm really straining. I definitely do that. Everybody does. Another great workout is it's called Arnold press. You can look up that word, and they'll give you examples of exactly how to do that. This is the position I put the bench in, where you want to, and like if you're at Hometown, you can grab their benches. They do the same thing. You bring the bottom up and the top to, I'll squat down, and you can see it's about that angle. Then just grab yourself some dumbbells. Don't go crazy heavy. If you think you can do like a shoulder press with maybe 30s or 40s, like decrease that a little bit. These are just 25s. I do these a lot, so I can go much heavier with that. But again, you'll get a lot out of this movement even going lighter. So I mean, if you have not done Arnold's before, with this particular movement, like all of them, focus on doing it right versus doing heavy weight. Grab your weights, and if you don't have a spotter for this, that's okay. Of course, spotters are great for everything. To get your weight up, especially, there's no need in straining your shoulder or possibly tearing something. So you'll see me bring the weight and kind of set it on my knees like this, and then you use your knee to throw them up for you. But again, don't use crazy heavy weight, especially if you're not familiar with this movement. Go with something lighter. Maybe use 10s or 15s or something just to get the feel of it. Throw them up, and you're trying to make a circle. You sit back, bring them right here where they're together, and instead of just pressing straight up, you want them to make a circle as you rotate them the opposite direction. See, my palms are facing forward now. My palms are facing back towards me. Make a large circle out. Palms are facing forward. Palms are back towards me. I don't know if that was actually showing that or not. I'll move this over. Okay, if that's straight, you'll be able to see the full range of motion. Toss them up. Bring them together. And even if you're doing a really light weight, no one's going to think that you're a sissy or anything for it, because you can do this extremely slow, and even with a really light weight, you'll get an extreme burn out of it. And it's an easy thing to do when you don't have a spotter, because worst case, you always plan for, if you had to, this is too heavy, and you go down, you drop it. Like that. Like, just keep them away from you and drop it if you have to. That way you don't have to worry about having to have a spotter at that point. And again, don't even get close to having too much weight for something like that anyway. I can do a whole lot more on shoulder press, but get yourself a decent weight and worry about the movement doing this. Before I turn that off, I'll tell you, once you get, all of these things will change once you do it like our muscle group once a week. I'll hit most muscle groups. I work out about 6 days a week. If you're that dedicated and you really want to build it up like that, I hit almost 3 different muscle groups twice a week. So like if I did chest on Monday, for instance, if you do chest, you possibly will incorporate different stuff like bench press and a different machine. Like, I don't have all the machines here, but at Hometown, and I think anytime as well, they'll have like the butterfly machines where you can grab like this and your arms are stationary and you're just pulling those bars straight in front of you. They have the one at Hometown. They don't have one that has the bars right there. They have the hand grips. And if you're walking in, it's on the far wall from the entrance where you walk in, and you'll see it over there kind of where some of the other, they've got one of the curl machines or something, and that's the one where you're facing towards the mirrors, and you can grab those 2 handles, and it's 2 different positions. One, you're facing straight towards the mirror, and you bring those to where you're holding yourself at a position where your hands are about parallel with your body, and you just press them forward and bring them back. I don't have that machine, so I can't do that here, but I can tell you that one works a lot of the same as the cables, but I'll work both of them, because you do on a machine like that versus cables or free weights, you will use different muscle groups, and it's nice to just hit them. Each one of those will do, like when I'm doing these, I'll find myself a weight that I can do 10 to 12 reps of, and I'll do that until I'm tired. I'll stop. I'll wait for about 2 to 3 minutes of doing pretty much nothing. Then I'll go right back to it and do it again, and I'll do that 10 to 12 reps at, I'll shoot for 3 or 4 times of actually doing it. So 3 to 4 different cycles of hitting that 10 to 12 reps, and then find another workout. If you really like that one or something, you can come back to it, but shoot for a total workout time of around an hour. That gets you plenty of exhaustion without going too hard, and that way when I'm at the end of it, maybe when I'm getting to my last 20 minutes, sometimes I'll go around and hit several of those that I already did if I was doing 10 to 12 reps, I'll use the same weight, but I'll try to do it as many times as I can. Maybe I'll only knock out 16 or something random, but until basic failure. Something like that, you don't have to have a spotter when you go to failure. On bench press, make sure you have a spotter. if you're at the end of your workout, I try to finish out with some push-ups, but I like doing push-ups. They're easy to do wherever you are, if you're at home or whatever. Sometimes using a dumbbell, or they have several different grips for push-ups. I find it sometimes too much of a strain on my wrist. If it's hurting your wrist in any way, try to get yourself, and that's why I was bringing up the dumbbells, because they're easy. And like you already said, you had some dumbbells. As long as they're a big enough weight that it keeps your knuckle off of the ground, you can use a dumbbell, and it helps you to set certain positions. Like you can turn them at an angle like you see here. Keep your back and everything very rigid in that push-up position. If you go down and you do the snake up, you don't get near as much out of it, and it's not good for you. Keep everything as stiff as possible and try to go down. The good thing about having the dumbbells, actually you can go deeper into the movement than you could if your hands were on the ground. So a good way to finish out is to do several different variations of push-ups, because on the push-ups, you can change the position greatly. You can bring them in. And even if you're totally exhausted, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm fixing to fail. You can slide to a different position, rest for 5 seconds, and maybe, the wider you go, the more it engages that chest muscle. You can go out here and still sometimes do a few. And when you get totally exhausted, you're like, oh my God, it's burning. You can come in and still knock out a few extras. And then you'll get everything possible out of that. Your chest will be like on fire at that point. I was about done, and I realized there's one extra thing that you could do depending on what your weights, what the dumbbells are that you said you have at your house. Another at-home thing that you can do besides, and I don't know, some people, the push-ups are very hard. I don't know, like it's basically called making you stay in a plank as well, which for some people, that's even the harder part than the actual chest workout. So if you don't have as much core strength, and like I said, that's up to you. I don't know. If you find doing 10 push-ups the hardest thing is holding the plank versus actually doing the push-up, then you need to work on core, which I do a lot of. So I'll show you more of those videos in the near future. But another easy thing for you to do that's good on those same days is to lay on the ground with your dumbbells, and you're basically duplicating a bench press. You won't get near the range of motion because you can't bring your arms down past the 90, but you don't have to worry about having a spotter either. So get yourself a flat position on the ground, and then just work on some of these. You can vary it with pressing out to the sides and bringing your arms straight out. I'll show you like that. My arms are trying to be straight out and coming up till they're touching. Another variation for this is to bring them in, just like with the push-ups. You can change the amount of weight, whereas on the push-ups, you don't really have much of an option. You're pushing that 60 to 70% of your body weight regardless. Here you can turn them in this way, and you can press them and twist. And these are very good for the exact same workout on the same days. And they're something easy to do because you can vary this amount of weight on the dumbbells.